Hi, my name's Eduardo Ortiz, and this is my project, my own little style of podcast. I'm here with my mother, and
My loving mother.
Sure, and let her introduce herself. So just give any basic information about yourself.
Well, my name is Lisa, and of course, as you said, I'm his mother.
So what is your stance on just a basic? What is your opinion on abortion? Don't give too much because I'll go into with some questions. But overall, what do you think of abortion?
Not too fond of it. I mean, I'm not fond of it, but then I'm not against people who need to have an abortion. For myself, I would not for me,
Okay.
even though I've thought about it.
Okay. So just going into this, I'm going to be asking you some questions. And because this is kind of a more, I would say, free will podcast, It's okay to be yourself, basically.
Oh, good.
Okay. So going into this, I refer to an article, and he basically he talks about many moral arguments. So for example, immigration, stuff concerning basically moral, what you think, you know what moral is, moral rights. Mm-hmm. Basically what you should and shouldn't do as a person. Mm-hmm. So one of these topics include abortion.
Okay.
So I'm just gonna dive into some questions, what you think about it. Okay. So
First question.
yeah, so the first one, he goes into this kind of topic which discusses, is a fetus a person right from the moment of conception? Do you want me to explain that?
I really think from the moment that they tell you that you're pregnant, it's a baby.
It's a baby. So he writes something that I'm going to quote. So on page 124, he states, a newly implanted clump of cells is no more a person than an acorn is to an oak tree. So basically he says that it's not really a person because it's a clump of cells. And he kind of gives this kind of analogy. So he compares it to when you say an acorn is an oak tree. So basically the acorn is the clump of cells and the oak tree is a person. So he says it's not really right to compare that. Mm-hmm. And I just want to see what you think of that.
Thoughts on that? I think there's a lot of ways to prevent abortions. They do say that, you know what, you shouldn't have sex until you're mature, and there's a reason behind that. I think your body's not ready, your mind's not ready, you're not prepared for what's coming, and not prepared for I think that whatever you do, whatever you put out there, good or bad, comes back to you.
Okay.
So I mean, there's consequences to everything, and I think from the beginning, me as a mother, and you know that I've always talked to you guys about consequences. So there's things to prevent things like that. First of all, it comes from your parents. I think you need that parent telling you, the circumstances and what can happen if you make a mistake, or if you do things like that, like having sex. Of course, there's risk. Mm-hmm. Okay, so I think mentally, it needs to start from your parents. The education needs to start from home.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, it does, and it makes a big difference. Not just in abortions, but in everything. The way you grow up, the way you think, what you become. I think your parents is your backbone from the beginning.
Of course. So, but going into this question, mm-hmm. this statement that he makes, where
about the oak tree,
about how it's not really human when starting from conception. Do you agree or disagree with that?
I think it just depends on the way you look at it. For me, from the beginning,
It's a person.
it's a person.
Okay.
That's why I say it's from the beginning. You need to, like, I always say, get the problem from the roots.
Okay.
So the getting it from the root is being prepared and avoiding of getting pregnant, so you don't have to go through that. Not only that, the emotional part is really bad. I can you imagine having an abortion and then you have to go through life wondering, like, why would you want to do that and put yourself through that when there's ways to not go through it.
Okay, so the second question kind of goes towards who's more important. So he gives kind of this he wants you to imagine a scenario, right?
Mm-hmm.
In his the thing that he writes. So he says, so there's this one author that says, suppose we did not accept that the fetus is suppose we did accept that a fetus is a person, right? Because I would probably disagree that from conception it's not a person. I would disagree.
Oh, you would disagree? Okay, good.
No, I'm not with you. Basically, I would disagree with you.
You would what?
Yeah.
Are you like?
I would agree that because from conception, from that egg, from the sperm going to the egg, I think of it as a clump of cells. I don't think of it as an actual human with that, heartbeat, with all that, So I would disagree. But let's say that I can imagine.
I can imagine like a rose, like a little stem, and then the little bud coming out. When you cut it off, it's just like it's the bud, but like you don't let the rose like.
Oh, so you're saying you're taking that chance from it going
towards like something that's gonna bloom, and
I could see like that, yeah.
Don't talk about the oak tree, because I'll talk about putting plants in.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I'm a con, right? He says, suppose we did accept that a fetus is a person. Every person has a right to life. So the fetus has a right to life, right? No doubt the mother has a right to decide what shall happen to their body, right? So that's quoted from 124. So who do you think whose opinion is more important then? Is it the fetus' right to life or the mother's right to do what they want with their body?
I think the mother gave up her right when she decided not to take care of, prevent from
pregnancy? Okay, so what about when they're raped?
Okay, that's different now. Now I think that changes a little bit.
Okay.
But I'm talking about the girls that get out there, get pregnant, and I've seen it, and they give them up for adoption, or they can't handle a kid, or they're not prepared. Then if you're not prepared, then handle your beep.
Yeah. By the way, I quote this from this section of the article called A Defense of Abortion. And the person who writes it is Judith Thompson, okay? So basically with that quote, you're saying you go more towards the fetus because the person who eventually got pregnant lost that right to...
It's kind of difficult to say because I'm not so much for people having their kids and then leaving them laying around either, So it's kind of like, I don't know if I'm contradicting myself or it sounds like I am.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't, and when I hear or see, I feel bad. Like, and I don't feel like hate towards the person, or I don't feel like, I really don't really judge people for that. I just feel really bad for the baby. Like, they could have, I mean, that's a life regardless. For me, that's a life. And I take that I think that it's a gift from God. I don't know if people believe in what their religion is, but I think is a gift,
Yeah.
It came through my mind when I got pregnant with you guys. I had 3, and then I got pregnant, and the situation with your dad was like not good. It was very, very bad.
So concerning that, do you think it was his right to also have a view on that, or you think?
see, in my situation, I think he didn't, because he was very abusive and he was a drinker and he was a lot of stuff. And I knew he wasn't going to be with me, and all that was going to be on me.
So, in that situation, think you...
I think I made the right decision. I'm so happy, and I love you guys. And even now that I decided, to go with it, let me tell you that when I was thinking of doing it, I used to talk to God, and I used to tell him, like, what do I do? And that's the only thought I was pregnant with one. So when I found that there was two, I was like really, really, like, I was happy. But then, I asked God, what do I do in this situation? I know I'm gonna be by myself with 5 kids. There's no doubt about that. And the abuse in the house was too much. And I met people, and I asked him, give me a sign. I met people that couldn't have kids, and they had to pay for it to have kids. Yeah. So I thought, you know what? This is my sign. Like,
what about someone who didn't have that experience with, like, relying on, having this abusive relationship, or relying on faith? What would you say? That's
what I'm saying, that every situation, I don't like to, like, say do it. I don't like to say don't do it, because everybody has a situation, Nobody could say, oh, I did it. No. That's why when people tell me things, I never, like, try to judge them, because I've gone through my stuff, and you do things at the time depending on your emotion, like the way you feel. And people always say, like, oh my God, look at the way she is. Nobody knows what got her there, or what got him there, what happened to him in his past, what they lived through, what sadness they have in them. I think people react to, like, situations. Like, not everybody's mean, they make them mean, and not everybody, but most of them, But I don't like to, like, really judge people, because I've had my situations, where, you do things for a reason,
Okay. Well, yeah, that's pretty much the end of the...
I'm so happy.
Okay. That's basically the end of this discussion. Thank you for participating.
Okay.